Welcome to the director's commentary for my television video. Chuck Scott created this opening title sequence. Okay, the transporter is about to deliver the main guitar player character. When I recorded the audio for this opening lead guitar, I had the volume on my Fender Sidekick amp all the way up and the tone control on my Telecaster guitar set to remove all the treble. This got rid of the harshness, so all the treble and harmonics you hear were generated by the amp and speaker. While I was creating this video, I emailed a screenshot to a friend. His only comment was, "Too many Ethans." That's Phil Kramer's fretless bass. And there's Ed Zubak's foot. Phil Kramer is a master craftsman. He built that bass completely from scratch, including the neck. Phil has also made many guitars totally from scratch. I needed to show a keyboard synthesizer on the screen, but what you're actually hearing is the fabulous yet underrated DreamStation software synthesizer that comes with the Sonar program I use to record all the music. This zoot suit is one of my favorite costumes in the video. All of the playing in this video is live, except for the drums and piano, which I recorded as MIDI. I had planned to learn to play the drums enough to do a credible fake job. Then a day before we were going to shoot those scenes, I realized I needed a real pro. Thanks, Ed. Once the music gets going, there are often a lot of players that you can hear but not see. There are actually two different feedback guitars playing here, but only one is shown. I have it on good authority that one of the violin players in the back row was drunk during that shooting session. Here's the guitar quartet gang. It sounds like they're playing through wah-wah pedals, but that's actually a Formant filter plugin meant to emulate a human voice. The notes are played a little too high to sound like a voice, but it still has a lyrical vocal quality. All of these notes were originally written as MIDI and Sonar, then I replaced the MIDI synthesizers with live playing. By the time I finished the music, there were 142 tracks in Sonar, but that includes the original MIDI tracks that are no longer active. It looks like I'm playing one classical guitar, but what you hear is actually 3 audio tracks of the same guitar, each playing a different part of the chords and melody. I'm not sure if what you hear is even possible to be played all at once. Here's my lovely wife Ellie, and here's Bear. This part is new footage. Bear just happened to be hanging out in the green screen one day, so I turned on the lights and camera. This clip of Bear is from my earlier Rondo video. Notice the string players ignore the conductor, just like in a real orchestra. You cannot coax a cat to do anything on cue. It took me about 3 hours to animate the eyes for this Blinky character from The Simpsons, and it's gone in less than 1 second. This Superman t-shirt which Chuck Scott supplied is great. Chuck provided a lot of clothes for the video, including this hat, jacket, and sunglasses. I love this feedback guitar part because it reminds me of a soprano singing. It's actually the same feedback part played twice, an octave apart. The banjo was really tough for me because it's not tuned like a guitar or a cello, but I was determined to learn to play it with the correct fingering. I use a lot of close-ups at the bottom of the screen to show more of the players than would otherwise fit on the virtual stage. I spent many days animating this disco floor. The guy playing the egg shaker in the back left is kinda nutty. While we were shooting this character, I was talking to Chuck between takes, goofing around, but I thought it looked funny, so I kept it. There's Chuck in the back left, playing a metal chisel, looking like the Cat in the Hat. Half of the percussion is just banging on stuff I had around the house. The liquor bottle on the right is from some 21-year-old scotch Chuck gave me a few years ago. That's Phil Kramer, the best guitar player I've ever known. We've been friends for more than 40 years. This is my attempt at a Max Headroom type background. The lens highlights are a plug-in effect that comes with Vegas, the video editing program I use. This part using pencils on the strings was one of the most difficult for me to learn to play. I wrapped foam around the end of the neck so the strings wouldn't all ring at once. I bought this Rhodes piano in the 1980s from a guy who was tired of lugging it to his gigs. I think I paid $200 for it. Back then they were practically giving them away because the new digital pianos were so much lighter. A few years later I gave this Rhodes to Phil, and now they're worth thousands of dollars. The blonde rock stars remind me of a cross between Don Was and Tom Petty. I wasn't going for a particular look, just trying to add some variety to the visuals. This part is a good example of where you hear about 8 guitars all at once, but see only a few on the screen. That's Phil's Korg drawbar organ. It's actually a static photo I took of the organ, and the video is me faking the part in the air with my hands above my lap. But since I'm positioned behind the organ photo, it looks fairly realistic. By the way, the organ sound you hear is the Native Instruments B4 software synth. There might be a subliminal message somewhere in this section, or at least some Morse code. The night Chuck and I shot the singers and slide whistles, I meant to wear different shirts but forgot to change. Thanks to the Vegas support forum, I learned it's possible to change colors after the fact, so now the red shirts are all blue. When I borrowed the classical guitar from Linda Kessler, she offered to lend me this pink jacket of hers. Linda is very attractive and petite, but amazingly I managed to get it on without ripping the seams or looking too silly. I always wanted to wear a mohawk haircut as a joke. Too bad my hair wasn't longer, but I think the effect shows enough to be funny. The night we shot the banjo footage, I tried a long beard for more of a farmer look, but it was too silly. I'm glad we had the presence of mind to do it without the beard too. The lighting is more advanced for television than my earlier Rondo video, but Chuck and I still had problems because we didn't know what we were doing. Eventually we figured out that using only indirect lighting makes the green screen more uniform, but it was a big struggle for me to make it all look acceptable. You can still see slight green edges around some of the players. The dancing musical notes look sorta cool, but they're really there to hide artifacts from the green screen. That was before we figured out the best lighting arrangement. These animated backgrounds are fabulous and clearly better than the ones I created myself in Vegas. These are all from one of the production blocks libraries I bought from 12-inch Designs. All in all, this video was a lot more complicated and time-consuming than I expected. I knew it would be a big job, but not this big. I also had to learn how to author a DVD properly and to create nested menus and optional soundtracks. It took more than a year to write 11 minutes of music and many months more to create the video. There are nearly 100 gigabytes of raw video footage and about 40 gigabytes that made it to the final version. From the beginning, I planned to have 30 of me on stage at the end, but the only way I could fit everyone was to have some of them come and go as overlays. This chime is another thing I spent many hours on. It's actually a gray iron pipe, so I colorized it in Vegas, then added the glowing highlights. I had to program the lights to move in tiny increments as the pipe swings back and forth. It's very subtle, but without that, the whole thing looked fake. The video was shot in 15 separate sessions, not counting the making of tutorial. For the music, there are 368 WAV files, 98 active tracks, and 117 plugins. Thanks to master recording engineer Charles Dye for the inspiration. And there you have it, about a year and a half of work in only 12 minutes. Thanks for watching.